Welcome. This is our episode 2 of VandalCast, the Magic the Gathering podcast. Episode Revenge of 2024.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a wrap up of some of the sets and some of our just general thoughts on Magic from what happened last year.
So yeah, if you're joining us, thank you. Make sure you comment, subscribe, like the video. Any input would be nice. What you would like us to cover in a future podcast. If you have a question for us, these podcasts are recorded live on Twitch. So if you can join us anytime, you feel free to be able to ask us questions, comments during live, and we'll be able to try to comment on you real time. So yeah. So if you're not familiar with us, we are VandalCast. It's a Magic Gathering podcast. We're the only podcast that is cast at sorcery speed. I'm Mike. I'm no expert at Magic Gathering, but I have plenty of experience in Commander and just Magic in general. Most of my we're not really more of a competitive talk. Most of my competitive scene has been with other card games. So this is not super new to me, but I am familiar with Magic the Gathering quite a bit.
And I'm Nick. I'm also really big into Commander, more casual formats now. The only competitive one I still really follow is like Pauper, which is the most casual of the competitive formats. I used to be way more competitive years ago, but I since just calmed down and found way more enjoyment in like deck building and Commander. So
Yeah, as a former competitive player, one thing that really drew me out of the scene was just seeing the same thing over and over and over. Same deck, same everything. So that's one thing I love about Commander and even Pauper is you see a lot more variety. Though sometimes lately, in at least Pauper Commander, I start to see a little bit of the same commanders. But I mean, I guess I could say the same thing for Commander, but not as bad as it is in a limited environment or a not limited as a one with rotations and stuff like that. So, um, so yeah, go ahead and get started. So 2024 was an interesting year for Magic, a very busy year for Magic. We have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 sets through the year, not counting all the secret layers that we had. And each set came with extra stuff as well. So yeah, it was a very busy for Magic.
yeah, lots of highs and lows, from the highs of Fallout to the lows of every secret layer I tried to buy, I was unable to get.
Yeah, we'll discuss the reason why you weren't able to get it, because they made a change with Secret Lair that made it so everybody couldn't get them, which was not smart. They made it so that scalpers could essentially own the Secret Lair market. And we had some other lows of closing certain things, and that led from simple bannings to that led to the closings of groups of and then but there's also highs of from Secret Lair. We had a couple special secret layers that were of note. We'll also talk about those. Yeah. I think the best way to start off 2024 is starting by each set, which I think these one B was the very first set we got in January, I believe, which was Ravnica Remastered.
Yeah. So we went to like a sealed event. No, it was a draft, wasn't
It
it?
was a draft,
It was
yeah.
draft. Yeah, went to a draft event of it whenever it came out, and it's Ravnica. It's it's there like of course there was no new cards, but it felt very samey in a limited environment. I was actually kind of let down. Um, but like from a reprint perspective, it was Christmas. It was Christmas again. Like suddenly these $25-$30 shocklands were, down to $12. It was um all my decks got upgrades, and that's just just the lands.
Yeah, I was pretty excited because I was a huge Ravnica fan. It's one of the sets that I really got into because I did draft one of the Ravnica sets. I can't remember which one. It was, I think, the second Ravnica set.
Mm.
I drafted. That was the first Magic the Gathering set that I drafted when I got into Magic for a little bit. Um, and I enjoyed Ravnica, so I personally was pretty excited for it.
Hmm.
Um, But I don't know. I guess I was kind of let down because I was excited and mentally like, yeah, I want to see Ravnica, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is Ravnica. Because there's some cards of Ravnica that is a little bit hard to get to enjoy. Um, they're just the commons and uncommons are just kind of like not as
Yeah.
fun. Um, but yeah, the Shocklands, those really needed reprinted. Um, they hadn't been reprinted for a while. Um, but and Ravnica Remastered, we didn't get much outside with the set. The only major things we got were the retro frame, which is one of the cards that is shown here, and then in anime borderless, we don't have that shown. But it's some of the iconic cards had like an anime-ish
Yeah,
art.
some of the anime cards were pretty cool. Yeah, I forgot about
Sakana
those.
Griff had an anime like tornado, and then but they weren't the highest end cards. The retro frame were because they came in a serial aspect, serialized. So they had the numbered, and that was brought over from 23, from the Lord of the Rings, I believe, is the one that started the whole serialized shenanigans.
Yeah, it sounds right.
So those were the chase cards serialized, but I mean, some of the serialized cards are like that because they were, I think, just pretty much all the rares that had the retro frame had a serialized card. Um, or I think they're
Uh, maybe the foil retros,
yeah.
because I remember I pulled a retro Cyclonic Rift and it wasn't numbered.
Well, not like guaranteed, but that actually had a possibility to get a serial number.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I got two, but I opened quite a bit of the collector packs.
Mhm.
But yeah, uh, it was interesting. I mean, it's not my least favorite remastering. Um, we'll talk about that with the upcoming 2025. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that
Uh,
was pretty much. I don't. Do you have anything else to say about?
it was no Time Spiral remastered, but I mean, I think it was as good as a Ravnica remaster could have been. It's just like the iconic cards are just
Yeah,
so old compared to a lot of the power creep of the newer sets. So if you were certain colors just didn't feel balanced, and but I mean, I don't think that's necessarily its fault, and I think it was good enough.
yes. The only thing I hate about the remastering of this is like one thing I like about remastering is a set that or a block that desperately needs to be reprinted. And Ravnica only had a couple cards that desperately need reprinted. And the funny thing is one the cards that were shown here is each of our favorite cards, and we both showed cards that we both wanted reprinted. Cyclonic Rift was what mine was, and it's a really good card. One of the reasons why it needed to be reprinted, it was extremely expensive, and it didn't drop the price down that much. Sadly, that usually ends up happening. You only get this like window where you get a good deal on the card when it gets reprinted, and it goes back up. I like
Yeah.
Cyclonic Rift because it's a board, actually a board wipe that you can use strategically, and you could
Mhm.
win the game with. Um, I'm not a big fan of board wipes that literally just restart the game over, so that's why I'm a fan of Cyclonic Rift. Doesn't stall the game for the sake of stalling the game. Um, yeah, it's just a really powerful card and needed to be reprinted.
Mhm. Yeah, and mine is just the new art of the breeding pool. I really like the full art treatment here. The like right where the blue meets the green on the text box is right where the card art divides into uh, brights and darks. It's just really interesting to look at. Um, yeah, I think it's easily the best art they've done for any of the Shocklands.
Yeah, and you get the kind of that growth. That's kind of the what's blue and green? I can't think of the guild.
Simic.
Simic, yeah, that's because they do the whole growth, the weird thing with the that growth stuff. That's like a Simic thing on the left
Hmm.
of it. So you could see like how they've been like messing with things, growing stuff, and I love the new Cyclonic Rift art. I liked how the basic one had a new art, so it's cool to see something different, and we don't get just this copy and paste the same art over. So that was cool. I'm glad they at least did that. And then
Hmm.
some of them got did get some reprints of the same art, but so I believe
Well,
the next set is
sorry.
another Ravnica set, if you want to call it that.
Before we're moving past it, so we're giving it a total
Oh
rating
yeah, the
at
rating.
the end.
I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
forgot.
So,
Yeah, thank you for reminding me.
even though it wasn't uh like horrible, I'm gonna give it like a 6. It was just like the only thing I was really excited about it was like reprints, which this could have been a set of commander decks instead. I mean, like it's just like it didn't need to exist.
Yeah, the how we'll rate them is we got 1 through 10 rating. 10 would be this set is the best set Magic has ever printed. You need to buy it now if you haven't bought it. That this set will be continued to be bought pretty much for the next several years.
Hmm.
This is like an iconic set for Magic Gathering, like the perfect set,
Hmm.
which we probably won't find. 5 would be this is the most average you could get, or you could just skip the set and not notice anything. It wasn't like horrible, but it wasn't good either. It's like, if you want to buy it, but you're not missing out. There's nothing that changed the format. There's nothing that impacted at all. And the 1 is so bad that it actually detracted from Magic, that it actually made things horrible. So 1 is like completely like not only the worst set. Hey, welcome to the chat. Yeah, we're talking about the Ravnica remastered cards. But yeah,
Hey.
but my rating would be, I'd say 6 is a pretty good rating. I said the only thing that we really got from this set was the needed reprints, and there wasn't too many. Um, I would say the fact that we got like the Shocklands from remastered gives us a might bump it up one more, just because how useful they are in any format that can run Shocklands. So they're a staple. Yeah. So yeah. Next set. Just when you thought we could get out of Ravnica, we went back into Ravnica, kind of. Technically, we were in Ravnica, but it did not feel like Ravnica at all.
Yeah,
We got
I kept
murders
forgetting
of
it was a Ravnica set.
we got murders of Karlov Manor, which is one of the worst names. I'm sorry, it is one of the worst set names ever.
Yeah,
It's a tongue twister,
Murder of Markov Manor. Yeah.
so for no reason at all. Um, and if you're just joining us, by the way, we are talking about 2024, kind of a rehash of 2024. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Switch to mod view. Yeah. So the main things we got of Murders of Karlov Manor was we got Ravnica City Frame Art that were serialized.
Oh
The
yeah.
option to be serialized. And those had this, and that was a this art came before, I believe it came the year before with it was brand new. Um, it was one of the, I think it was it was when they did the reprints of with all those crazy set that had all the different cards in it. So I think it might have been. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. No, your face is blocking the follow notification. I gotta fix that. Yeah.
Whenever we were getting to the set was announced, I think we were both really excited, um, because
Well, I
like
mean,
they had announced like the Clue, draw in, and then it
yeah.
was going to be in Ravnica. So like,
It was new cards
I
for
thought,
Ravnica, so like we were like those the only really complaint about reprints is it was not new cards, and now we get new cards.
yeah. And then like as spoiler season happened, like, oh, what's this new set? What's this new set with all these characters we know and love with detective hats on? Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's the set. That's the Ravnica set. um,
Magic's always had like a theme set, but they weren't like they were like centered on a realm and it made sense. Like Ixalan had dinosaurs, but there was a reason for it. There's a whole story. They didn't just like Ixalan, but I'm not gonna give Wizards the idea, so I'm gonna stop right there. But yeah, I mean it's like so yeah, it was the start of a really themed set, and it really felt unmagic. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, we got we also they had the because of the detectives we got the magnified arts, which is like it looks like a magnifying glass over the art, and those are
Yeah.
usually like sorceries and instants. I don't think, and then the creatures themselves got the dossier frame, which you could see at the bottom with Delny. Oh no, I didn't add the dossier frame because I don't like it.
Yeah,
It just looked
they're
like
awful.
papers, and then the really rare ones, like the second rarity you could get out of the packs on top of the serialized was the invisible ink foils for the dossier frame. Um, most people didn't even see those. It
Yeah,
was a really cool foil, the how they did it, but it was there.
it was a Ravnica set that they didn't print a div mizzet. I
And then we
I
got
I don't feel like there's a greater sin.
And then we got these surveil lands that had an alternate borderless alt art, which you could see with Undercity Sewers.
Hmm.
And then we got some extra stuff like Ravnica Clue Edition that had some exclusive cards that were literally characters from Clue. And then we got some returning of special guests with alt art. And that kind of, the special guest thing is pretty much them saying, hey, we're not doing list cards anymore. We are doing list cards, but we're not doing list cards. So it's a
Hmm.
way they like reprint stuff with new art. I don't hate it as much. I think my problem with the list was it got too big and it had too many useless cards in it. That I was like,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially they had newer. They need to stop adding newer sets in the list too, because it's like so disappointing when I'm seeing sets that just came out the year before. Like it's exciting to get like a really old card on the list. Like oh yeah,
Yeah,
remember that card and
yeah.
it's like
Or then you open it and you get an abrade and
yeah. I've seen way worse, but
it's like,
so the special guests most of the time were really good cards, but they were also in the slot with the list, so they were like, because they still list still exists, just not. They just I think they toned down a little bit, but I think they really should. That's the only good thing about the special guests is that it really is like a toned down
yeah.
list, but with new art, which is cool.
It feels more thematic. I like it. I like what they did with that, the
But
replacement of the list.
But I'm not going to give any special points just because it had special guests, because it's not the only set that got special guests. Pretty much all sets from now on got special guests, so they don't
Hmm.
get a special pass for that one. Um, but the elephant in the room, which you because I let you pick first, so this isn't the only time you stole one of my favorite cards from the set. The Surveil
Hmm.
lands. The
Yeah,
only really reason most people bought this set after they realized how bad this set was the surveillance.
they're so good. They're so good. They're on par with Shocklands. In fact, I remember I was watching a modern tournament that came out just as soon after this set dropped, and 52% of the lands that were fetched in that tournament.
Yeah,
were surveil lands, not shock lands. That is showing how insane those cards are.
Any time you could search for a land that didn't you didn't need untapped, you pretty much were doing a surveil land.
Yep.
But it's like it's cool because they have the land type, so you have that, and then you have so that made it searchable. That's one thing that like the comparing the scry lands, they don't have the land types, so that already put it up, and then the tapped, yeah. I kind of like the idea of the tap because I felt like Magic was starting to get a little too fast, so slowing it down a little bit. And then yeah, Surveil. I just find Surveil way better than Scry because it meshes
just
so
is.
much. Yeah, because
you're not gonna shuffle it back in.
yeah, or put the
You're
bottom
filling your graveyard.
Yeah,
It's
because
just so much.
Scry, it's like the problem with Scry is you pretty much don't see that card ever again with Scry if you don't want that card now. So if it's like a card you don't need at this moment, you're not gonna see again unless you shuffle your deck because it's gone. With Surveil, you drop in your graveyard, and so many decks mesh with graveyards that it's like a second deck to them. So it's like, oh, or a second hand. So it's like, hey, look, I got another. I added that to my hand for later, and so yeah, if you're not familiar with Magic the Gathering and you think putting cards in the graveyard is a bad deal, it's not. It's like I said, it's like a second hand for literally a lot of for majority of especially black decks for sure. If you have black,
Yeah. Well, my delve spell costs one less now, and
Yeah.
there's just so many synergies with the graveyard in every
Nothing's wrong with
color.
Delve. Nothing's broken with Delve at all.
Yeah.
But and it's also yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just nice that you could tutor, especially tutoring this off in the beginning. If you have a sack land and you get this off at the beginning of the game, like first couple turns, so you can see what's on top of your deck. So it's like, oh, it's another land, and you get 3 lands in your hand. Like, oh yeah, I don't need that land. You toss that out, or like you have a high mana cost card, you can toss that, or like a high cost board wipe. Like it's like I'm not gonna need this. Yeah, so filter out your deck, which is always a plus. And then, so you picked Undercity Sewers. That was your favorite card. Anything to say about that other than what we've already said? Other than you like that
I mean,
color?
it's the 2 colors that want this effect the most.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like a $35 card now. It's power speaks for itself. It's not even like an alternative to a shock. It's like what you want most of the time when you tutor early now. It's
yeah, before if I didn't need an untapped land, I'd go for a Triumph if I was in more than 2 colors. But now I'm actually not picking Triumphs because of this card.
It's just so powerful. It's just so much power for free.
And in mine, because I didn't want to pick another Surveil land, I wanted at least a little variety. One of the cards that I ended up really enjoying, I tried to force it in some decks. I forced it in a deck just because I liked it a lot, was Delny. I think Delny is going to be one of the few cards in the set that we'll see in a future decks. It's a low cost, it's a 3 mana 2/2 that creatures with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or more. So if you're running White Weenies or low power creatures, that first tag, normally in Magic, we would see that as a 3 mana 2/2 makes low powered unblockable, and that's the card. But now now in modern Magic, we get an additional paragraph which allows the ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less that triggers, it will trigger again. Which are some great cards with low power triggering twice. I mean, you got to play with one of those in our tournament last, so.
Yeah. Trying to think of what the name of one of them is. Like the the 3-mana creatures that when they come into play, they exile something. Skyclave Apparition, that's an example. They exile a non-land permanent of an opponent. Well, now it exiles 2 things.
Yeah.
And it's
Or the
that's
the one that
much
comes
stronger.
in and the one that you play like to play, the one that comes in destroys the artifact, taps for a land.
Oh yeah, Lauren. Yeah,
I believe she's low mana or low power.
low power. Yeah.
And then Esper Sentinel is a 1/1, so he would trigger twice, as long as you don't put too many counters on him. I personally, if I'm running Delny, I probably wouldn't put counters on him at that point. I'd rather the chance of it triggering twice than just making them pay a lot to try to stop it, because they're not gonna. I'd rather them pay the mana at that point to make me stop, because it's gonna slow them down. But I don't know.
Absolutely.
But it's greed, triggering twice. Yeah. Delny, I think one of the few cards for sure from this set. But yeah, I think we covered the set enough. I didn't say much about Clue Edition. As an attempt to bring Clue into the card game, I thought it was really fun implemented. Just I don't know anybody that played it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I bought it, but I don't think we could get a group to want to play it. So I'm like one of the few people that actually enjoy the board game Clue too. That's also the downside of them combining with Clue, is that's like a board game nobody likes to play. And I think nobody understands how to play. That's one of the big reasons. And it can be a boring game. So, yeah.
But I thought that the 2 combined seemed like a fun game whenever I watched people play it, but I never got to actually try it. So,
yeah, if you don't know how to play Clue or aren't like a fan of Clue, I can see you'd be like, oh, Clue, really? Like, how would that work? I don't even know how to play the normal card game Clue. So. What would you rate the unless you want me to go first this time?
Yeah, you go first.
So murders, I don't know if I want to rate it over Ravnica Remastered. I mean, the sad thing is because I've seen other ratings and all of them give them higher rating just because of the Surveil lands, and the Surveil lands we will see for the rest of Magic for a long time. I don't suspect them to ever go away in the near 4 years from now. I'm sure we're going to see Surveil lands in at least Commander decks and some other decks. I don't know if I want to bump it up to 7 just because of that. I might have to. I think I will. It was a really gimmicky set. I listed a lot of things for the set just because they really tried to sell us the set, and it does get overwhelming with it. But I guess I'll stick with a 7, even though I feel painful to do it over. It should be a 6, but I'll do a 7.
That is generous. My score is a 3.
Oh.
I really disliked this set. I would prefer it didn't happen. I would prefer the Surveil lands be in any other set.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel like giving it a free pass because it had them in it. I feel like that's the only thing that made this set worth buying. I think they dealt away with the source material often. There were so many things they could have done easy that would have made this feel like Ravnica, but chose not to.
Oh yeah. It was Ravnica by name alone, essentially.
Yeah. This is definitely my least favorite set of the year.
Oh yeah, and they had like characters that shouldn't have been a detective that were detective. Like it's like, oh yeah, I'm a guild master. I'm just gonna be a detective now. Especially when he's like because it's like the I think it's the blue black leader, became a detective. I don't remember his name. It's the one that changes like disguise that can transform himself. I think.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I
believe
can't
he was a
his name.
detective in the set, and he's also he's not a good guy either. So like, why would he care? But whatever. Yeah, now that you say it, yeah, I'd say the set did detract a little bit. I might, if we could forgive me, I'd probably bump it down to 4 now that I think about it, because it's I was giving the 7 alone for the Surveils, but yeah, this set really did detract from Magic, and it started a precedent that we start to see continued. Just we'll move on. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Yeah, I'm gonna change it to 4 if that's fine.
Yeah. Alright. So I believe next up is the Fallout Commander deck only set.
Yeah, so we're
Um,
seeing a kind of a similar thing to Lord of the Rings, how they did it.
Mhm.
Um, if you want to start this one off, sure, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it was 4 commander decks. There was also some packs that did have cards that were not
Yeah,
in the commander sets.
it was
Commander
only
deck,
it
but
was
there
only
wasn't a
collector
lot.
boosters, I believe, and they had
Oh,
some
that's
alternate stuff. So you got collector boosters with Pip-Boy art that can come in a Surge foil, which is pretty cool. Surge foil. I
hmm
believe we saw that with the Doctor Who set. And then it had 9 additional cards that you could get that weren't found in the precons. There were reprints though,
hmm
um, and there were only, I think they were only in the Pip-Boy art though. And then we got the Vault Boy mascot borderless art on some spells, like Vandal Blast, I believe was one of them, and those also came in the
hmm
Surge foil. And then we got, and then also you could get, it was the bobbleheads that all were serialized, so you could get a serialized bobblehead. Not all of them were serialized, but you could get a bobblehead, or you get a bobblehead, I believe, with the I'm trying to think of it, like the textured hollow, um,
Oh yeah.
and then that had a serial on it. Really hard to get. That was the chase card. But yeah,
Mhm. So there was the 4 decks. There was the um, Caesar's Legion. There was the Dog Meat Junk Equipment Auras deck. Um, there was the Mothman Radiation deck, and then there was
this is the energy deck was the last one.
oh yeah, the Energy deck. Um, so I bought the Dog Meat and the Caesar's Legion deck, so I can only speak to those two. The
Oops.
Dog Meat deck was sorry,
No, I had the wrong card up.
gotcha.
Continue. Sorry.
Uh, So the dog meat deck was more or less a Voltron deck. There was a lot of ways to get auras and equipment back from the graveyard, and it heavily relied on the junk theme, which was a new artifact
Yeah.
token that was introduced that allows you to tap it, sack it as a sorcery to exile a card from the top of your deck. You could play it that turn. Um, so it you put a bunch of equipment on dog meat or another creature. There were other creatures that were better suited to be um, have bunch of stuff dumped on them, and attack in for a lot of damage, and then get junk tokens for doing that to further incentivize you to keep going tall. Um, when the deck worked, it was really fun. It didn't work often. It was trying to do a lot of things. Um, Not that effectively. I think you kind of had to choose one
Yeah.
lane with aura or equipment. But as a build around deck, it was much more fun to upgrade. So I will give it points for that.
And this is if you don't know Universe Beyond, this means these are characters from a different franchise, which is Fallout. Um,
hmm
Before this, we only saw Universe Beyond, I think, in 3 different ways. And this isn't one of the ways which we got. We saw Universe Beyond either as a secret lair only, as like special guest cards in a set, because we saw that with like Ixalan with the Jurassic Park. Um, and then in this forum, which we saw, I think first with Lord of the Rings, which is Commander decks, and then um, well, yeah, Lord of the Rings, I think first, and then 40k. I think I don't remember which one was first,
I
but the
think 40K
40k.
was the first one for only
Yeah,
commander
yeah, I
decks.
think so. Yeah, and then Lord of the Rings got it, but they got some packs also. It was pretty
Yeah,
much
they
the
got the
same.
full set. Yeah.
They got a full set with theirs. Doctor Who got the same treatment as this, where it's like you can get the precons, but you can also get like these special collector packs that had the same cards in it, but they had some like fancy art versions. So I guess we had 4 variants. You get a full set, or you get just commanders and special packs. Um, so yeah, I prefer personally. I like this version of, like, if it's a good good franchise that I like. I like this version better if we're gonna get anything. I don't necessarily think we need a full set, and we'll get into that later on with another set that's gonna be talked about this year. Um, if it's like this, I love the precons much better. But if it's like a small set that think about Street Fighter, I don't think Street Fighter needed a full precons. I think it was fine doing it. And The Walking Dead as well, doing it as they did the Secret Layers, like a limited, like 6 or so cards. Or do the special guests. Probably, I actually think I like the special guests over the because you can get it in the packs. Anybody can get it when you're not like locked in like a limited purchase of Secret Layer. So yeah, I think I would prefer, if it's a low franchise, actually like the special guest version, but much better. This set I think definitely goes up there. I'm biased, so I liked it better in the Doctor Who. Plus, I like the decks played better in the Doctor Who personally. But I wouldn't say they're. I don't know if they're stronger, but I think some of them played that they're more fun to play. Is more. I should preface that. The deck I play the most, which is Mothman, is the reason why I chose the card. And one thing I really like that they did this one, they kind of did Doctor Who, is each deck besides the energy deck, I say two decks added a brand new mechanic to Magic, which we got the junk token, which was like alright. It sounds better than it is in my opinion. I think there's just not a lot of support for junk tokens is the biggest problem. And then the radiation. The radiation definitely gave a new version of Mill that I like better than Mill, because it may be slightly slower because it's harder to combo off it, but it made it more fun.
Absolutely.
And I think the rest of the community agrees, because looking at like the top decks right now, people that you're running Mothman right now blows the rest of the decks way out of the water. Making their own custom deck, stuff like that. If you go off of CDH Rec or Moxfield and the other deck listings, like the amount of people running Mothman as a commander is the majority. So people really like running Mothman and using these radiation tokens with Mill now. So because I think it adds, one, the colors are like perfect for Mill, and then two, you get a commander. You can either win. You get multiple wins other than just Mill. So you can win by commander damage because he gets pumped up and he flies. You get Mill, and then you also just do damage from the milling as well. So you can, slowly drain your opponent. You can mill them out, or you can just swing in for commander damage. So it definitely opens up more than just playing the same priest over and over that's gonna mill you. So.
And the other subset of the Mothman deck that I really liked seeing was Proliferate.
Oh yeah.
Because you can proliferate the radiation counters. I thought that was a very interesting way to continue keeping those radiation counters, because there's not many ways to give radiation counters outside of your commander. So being able to keep them up that way, it felt, because I like proliferation, but the only decks that do it well are poison. So
it gives us another thing to proliferate other than like 1/1 counters and poison. So I totally or planeswalkers, but yeah. Another thing too is over the Dogmeat deck. This deck had more cards that like interacted with the radiation tokens. You actually had several cards that said, if your opponent has radiation token, or if you have radiation tokens, draw that many cards. There's a lot more of that than Dogmeat had with the reacting to working with the junk tokens. Not to say they're all great, but it's more. I think it's better for a precon to do something like that than just like, oh yeah, we also do this, but you can ignore that part of the card, because you literally can ignore the junk tokens and you'll be fine with Dogmeat.
Yeah, you could. Just the radiation you get from playing, or the radiation. Wow, just the card advantage you get from playing it is good enough. But then the other commander, my actual favorite card from the set, Caesar, his deck is horrible. It's also the deck I enjoy playing the most, so I'm not changing it. because Caesar is such a fun commander. Like, you play Caesar, you attack, you make some tokens. People are like, oh, okay, whatever. You know, he's gonna make some more tokens next turn, draw a card. And then next turn you make 6 more tokens, attack with him, and then dome someone for 12 damage.
Yeah,
And suddenly you're the threat. It's
and then as somebody that used to run a soldier deck a lot, because I used to. That was like the third deck I built, with soldiers, and that was one that back in the day I made a soldier deck, way back in the day, but this deck gave a new playstyle for soldiers, because most soldiers is like just flood the board with soldiers, and this one added a little more playstyle, a different playstyle. So that was new, and I liked that quite a bit. He also does really well in the 99 too. I don't think Mothman is so good in 99. I think Caesar can be both a commander in 99 better than a Mothman can.
yeah, he could definitely go in your
Ishin.
Two Heavens as one deck. Yeah, just
Yeah,
like his
he's a top ad for Ishin. I don't have him in there, but he's a top ad for Ishin. Yeah,
I don't really have much more to say about it.
One deck we didn't talk about, the energy deck, and he kind of gets overshadowed because a later set we bring back energy again as a precon, and I think that deck is better at energy than this deck, than the energy deck of Fallout. But it was nice to see energy again, even though I don't like the mechanic that much. Yeah, it's just nice to get it back.
Yeah, when the decks came out, the energy deck was the clear loser. It was like barely upgradable, and now it's the strongest one because of reasons we'll discuss later.
At this moment, yeah, there wasn't a lot of energy support. But yeah, what would you rate Fallout?
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I loved the theme. I loved every card felt like it could be a describing something in Fallout. There were so many new cards that I liked that I wanted to put in just different decks. I really liked the set, but I usually like most of these sets that are just commander decks.
Yeah, if you've been on my channel, you know I play a lot of Fallout. Mostly 76, but I played every version of Fallout, and I've played a ton of Fallout. I played Fallout 3 back when it came out, so I played a lot of Fallout. Huge fan of Fallout, huge fan of Magic. So combining the two didn't make sense at first, but I was still excited because I would never see how my idea of Magic and then adding Fallout to it just kind of it doesn't mesh. But I mean, we got Doctor Who, so let's go with it. Yeah, I really enjoyed the set. I thought the precons were all fun. Even though I don't like energy, I would still play the commander deck, and I wouldn't be upset about it if I had to. So even though I say it's the least out of the 4 decks, I don't think it was that. There's way worse decks. Like the previous, the Carla Manor set had way worse precons in my opinion. There's I think one that was literally unplayable. But yeah, I would say I'm gonna go a little bit of conservative. I'm gonna say an 8, just because and this is not saying because I think one set's a little bit better than this set. Yeah, I think I think it really, there's a lot of good cards, adds new mechanics, adds I think we're gonna see some of these cards for several sets to come. Yeah, it's fun. It's Magic. We should have some sets that are fun. We should have some sets that add to the competitive environment, and this was the fun set of that. We should have stopped here with the fun sets though, because got a little carried away this year. All right, I believe our next set that we got, and we were getting flooded with sets, back to back. Next one is Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So if you're reeling back from, even if you skip the Fallout set, which some did, this Outlaws of Thunder Junction came too quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you remember Outlaws of Thunder Junction? I know it was a easy one to kind of gloss over.
Um, I remember liking the feel of the set. I can like only think of like two or three cards from the set in total. I can't think of any card I've seen of it like outside of standard, like in Commander or Modern or anything.
Well, there's a
So I'm
couple
guessing it wasn't a
cards.
very.
There,
Mhm,
there's like a handful of cards that I play, but
mhm.
so because there's like I'm trying to think of the card now. Well, one of them I have is my favorite card that I added, and that not my I wouldn't say my favorite, but I debated for a while. I think probably the strongest card in the whole set is the dinosaur from the vault, because it's the extra set that they tacked on. There's going to be an epilogue set, but they didn't keep it as an epilogue set. The vault set that they did.
Oh
There's,
yeah, the vaults. That's right.
and there's the dinosaur that like for every like high power creature that enters, you draw a card, gain a life, and then if it dies,
Oh
you just
yeah, that
make a clone of it.
ridiculous thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing's so overpowered. That was going to be the Vaultborn Tyrant. Yeah, that's what it's called. And I was going to be my favorite card. I was like, it's a very niche card. It's a really good card though. It's so good card. Broken card because you can't get rid of it because it just copies itself if it goes away. So it's always
Hmm.
there. Um, it's in my Dino deck because it needs to be in Dino deck.
Of
But
course.
yeah, this set had, I'm gonna reveal our cards, but this set had alt art borderless lands. They were reprints of fast lands. We get the wanted poster frames. What? What's the two or less? If you have two or less lands, it comes untapped. So those are, yeah, they're fast lands. Which, in my opinion, I don't ever play fast lands.
Hmm.
But that's what people call them. It's like if you have, it says when it comes in, if you have two lands, two or less lands on the field, then it's untapped, and if otherwise it's tapped. So you have if three lands on the field, then it's tapped. So it's good early game, but anytime after that, if you have three lands, it's tapped. So I like
Right.
slow lands better personally.
Didn't they reprint those like three standard sets before that?
Yeah, they were
In
not
like
new.
Phyrexia All Will Be One?
We didn't need them reprinted at all.
I didn't even know those were in that set.
Yeah, they were in the set. They had these like it was like a train art on them. Um,
Ooh, a train art.
yeah, but it's like the weird. They were like a giant wheel for the train. It was so weird, weird design. Um, but yeah, I don't like fast lands personally because it's like the amount of percentage of like the game when you draw a fast like if you're running standard, I could see maybe because the
Yeah.
games are quicker. But like in Commander, like the first two turns, okay. After that, then it's just a dead card in your hand. Well, it's a tap land, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
So I personally like slow lands, which is like the Innistrad version, where it's like if you have two or more lands, then it comes untapped.
Yeah, yeah. Those are way better for Commander.
And I play those in like every deck. So we got the wanted poster frame, which I didn't like. I love wanted
Yeah, it
like the
really
wanted poster design, but on a card it looked bad. We got some alt art borderless art for planeswalkers. So we got some like borderless art, planeswalker art. There wasn't very many planeswalkers though. There's only two, I think, two or three. Um, and then we got the breaking news, which were alt art reprints, and those were like kind of like a special guest, but they weren't. They were in their own slot. So you got a breaking news card, and that looked like a newspaper kind of. And then we got the big score, which I believe you can only get in the collector packs, and those also came in alt art showcase vault frame raised foil, possibility of raised foil, and those were the cards we were talking about. That they were going to add an epilogue set, but then they saw how bad an epilogue set went in 2023, so like, oh, we're just
Mhm.
going to tack it on another slot. So if you bought a collector pack, since another slot you could get, and then you could also get a special guest reprint with borderless alt art against. We got another special guest reprint.
Mhm.
So they added even more and more. Most of the big scorecards are really OP because that was like the intention of selling the set. So there's some pretty powerful cards where they introduced loot. It was like the whole big heist thing was to find loot, and it was like a little creature. They added tried to add a Pikachu to Magic and didn't go over as well as they thought. Um,
I like loot.
I like Fibblethip better.
Loot's cute.
Fibblethip's
Dibblethip is pretty cute. Yeah, that's true.
they should have kept him as their icon, but they stopped. Yeah, loot just felt forced. Is all I'm saying. The set, yeah, you could. I mean, it's Cowboys.
Yeah, I liked the idea of a cowboy set. I think I'd like the idea of the cowboy set if it wasn't Vraska and Rakdos
Oh yeah.
that were doing it.
Yeah, I think they should have done brand new characters. Instead, we just saw returning characters, planeswalkers that couldn't planeswalk anymore, with cowboy hats on. And then they also have these weird laser guns because they're afraid to reprint guns. But they had reprint. We just had Fallout with guns, so
Yeah.
it's like, and then 40k with guns, so like they don't want guns in Magic, so they had these weird laser. You could actually see it on the bottom card. It's like they're weird, and it's like, do you want guns or not guns? I think the only thing I thought was kind of cool for the set is for deserts, because desert needed support.
Yeah.
But desert still sucks, so it's like, I mean, the spree cards were cool. I know you added a spree card, but would Magic be okay without spree? Yeah, I don't think they really added much to Magic. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to compare this to Ravnica. I mean, to Murders of Marklov Manor, because it's a really similar idea, but at least they made their own world with it. But yeah, it's like, why? I get it, but why?
And I think something that's compelling me is I actually really liked the story on this one. The murders story was terrible.
Yeah.
But the story on this one was like at least like compelling. Like it felt like some of the characters that were there deserved to be there. Like killing the kid, I think that actually was a good include. I think that was one of the few times where it made sense for him to be there.
Until he kept showing up after he's already shown up twice, I believe. I think this is the third time he's shown
every
up.
Time. Yeah, every time there's been one. Getting into my favorite card. I actually liked quite a few of the spree cards. I love instants that are modal.
Yeah.
And all of the effects on this card, I feel like are good enough to include it in a deck. A instant speed field wipe, good enough. An instant speed field wipe that stops your opponent's indestructibles, good enough. An instant speed field wipe that stops them and allows you to keep your thing, great. But like also just stopping an effect that a creature trigger would like a creature trigger before it would happen. I think that's just even good enough. Like all the effects on this are strong, and I think that I enjoy having that kind of effect in my hand.
Yeah, it's a new take on modal that we hadn't gotten yet, and I'm not saying what I said earlier. I don't think we needed it, but it's not bad. It's nice because like a lot of the modal spells before that, you're paying a high mana cost and then you pick what you want. In this one, you start with a low mana cost and then you add what you want and you just pay the additional mana. So if you don't want all these effects, then you could just pay 2 mana or 3 mana, and because if you don't want to do a board wipe at this point, you can give something indestructible, or remove all abilities, which on its own as a 2 mana card I would play as an instant. It stops a lot of decks from instantly winning, stuff like that. So it's nice. I like this. I like the idea of like, because if you have, you don't have the 5 or 6 mana at the time because it's an instant, you could just pay what you need out of the card and you're good. Because like that's what some of the other modal spells, like ones we think about the most is the counter spell, which it's like 5 mana, and you just like counter. I guess I'm gonna draw a card, and I guess I'm gonna bounce this. Like, I mean, it's good to do all 3 of those things, but like at that time, I'd rather just pay 2 mana for a counter spell. So,
Yeah.
um, and in mine, I realized I picked another copy trigger ability. I do like to do it, but this is one of the few cards from the set that I actually play in a deck. I have it in a deck that it's in my food deck because it has a lot of legends in it. And he joins up. They had the joins up cards. Some were good. I think most of them were bad. I think this is one of the only ones that are decent. When it enters the battlefield, deals 5 damage to a target creature or planeswalker opponent controls. So remove something for mana. And then it's an enchantment that stays on the field that if a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, it triggers again. Did not mean for to pick 2 triggers, but I mean if I'm gonna trigger something again, I might as well do it 2 different cards. So.
Yeah, that card's really good. This might be my first time seeing it. But like, yeah, both removal and it being a trigger doubler, those are both very powerful effects. It's a lot for one card.
In my, I have the that food deck that I have. Trying to think, Rocco's. I think it's Rocco's Street Chef. I think.
Oh yeah.
And he, this is one of the pieces that I didn't realize I could make my deck infinite, and it's one of the pieces that made infinite. So, because it was like destroy a food, make treasure, and so it would make 2 food and multiple treasure, and so I could just keep going back and forth, and I would gain because it's doubling twice. I'd get positive on it. So, this was one of those cards that, yeah. It's also I wanted to add it because it's not a card a lot of people probably glossed over because a lot of people. There's only like a handful of cards. I almost added the landfall because there's like a couple of good landfall cards in this set. Bristly Bill.
Oh yeah,
probably one of the most. I think it's the most popular card from this set.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let's. What do we want to rate this set?
It's your first.
Oh yeah, it is my first. If I'm giving Ravnica Mastered a 6, and I'm gonna give Fallout of 8, Karlov of 4. I still, even with some of the cards, I play more cards than this, but I still think I might do 6. I think it only adds magic slightly, and I don't think it detracts as much as it did with the other. No, I don't know if I'll do a 6. I don't know. There's maybe go with 5. I think I'll go to 5. I think this is like an average set. You could skip it and you wouldn't. Yeah, I'm gonna say 5 on this one. I don't think it fully detracts as it did with Karlov did. I think it was just average set. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with a 5 too. There were things I liked about this set more than Murders. I liked the story more. I think I liked a few more of the actual cards. But man, it was forgettable. Like there's no reason to buy packs of it, just buy the singles you want. It's totally missable. I feel like it is the definition of a average set.
So yeah, the next set we have is Modern Horizons 3.
That was a good one.
I know some people in Modern didn't like it as much because it definitely took over a lot of, because it, just like with every Modern, I don't know why people got upset about them being powerful, because that's every Modern Horizon set we've had so far has powerful cards in it. So this isn't new. I don't know why people acting like it did. We got Modern Horizons 3. We got borderless frame break art, that option to be serialized. We got alt art, borderless art. We got retro frame art. We got ripple foil. We got textured foil, and then we got special guest alt art, including like Modern Horizons 2 did, where they had like inserts from Modern Horizons 1. This one had Modern Horizons 2 in it, so you could get some. That's how I got my Esper Sentinel. I got it from Modern Horizons 3 pack.
Yeah, the card quality in this set was through the roof. Like, God, it was like 30% of the cards were worth more than a pack. 30% of the rares, sorry, were worth more than a pack.
Expensive packs though compared to before. They were higher in cost. So.
Yeah, it was so much fun to open them. All the instants and sorceries were so strong. You had to reevaluate so many different decks with like there's just so many cards that like changed commander, changed modern. It was a very interesting set when it dropped. I even like as a former modern player thought, "Oh, this is going to shake up modern in a very interesting way."
It did. The precons were extremely good.
Oh yeah, they were.
I don't think any of the. I think I might have bought all the precons because they were all good. Even the worst one, arguably the worst one, which is the one that made the Tormagoyfs, was a really fun deck. Like, strength wise, it was the weakest, I believe. But I think, in my opinion, it was the funnest of the four to play. I had, because I had all four and I played them, and I had more fun playing that one. The instant sorcery one, probably the strongest one, I think. It's the red blue. I had the one that like would copy it if you've. I'm trying to think of what her name.
Oh, like the third spell you played,
Yeah.
you copied. Yeah, she was very powerful.
Even the energy one was really powerful because that one copies. You can copy things really easy with the energy one. And then they had the fourth deck was the Eldrazi. So it was a second time getting an Eldrazi precon. And this one was 5-color. And that one's probably the most popular. I mean, it's Eldrazi, so it had really powerful cards in, especially if you're an Eldrazi player. This set had some great cards in it. Really powerful cards. I'll say it again. It did Modern Horizons thing. It definitely felt like Modern Horizons for sure. Definitely interesting set. Precons I really liked. And then highlight some fun cards. We've had these before, but these are so much better than the ones we've had before, which are the instant sorceries that are two-sided. Which one side, which I will show you.
The modal double face lands.
Which was your favorite card.
Yeah.
They had a cycle. They had cycles of them, but I think these are much stronger. The two that I see that I think are the strongest is the blue one, and there's the white one. That on the spell side, it's a artifact enchantment removal. And the other side.
Oh, the Witch Hunter. Yeah.
I think this one and Sink and the Super are the best two, for sure.
Each color got 3.
Yeah.
There was an uncommon one, which was the one you're gonna play, and then there was 2 common ones in each, and they allow so many more spells or interaction, I guess, in your deck without really having to sacrifice any more lands. They're so fun. I think these made Commander more fun by just allowing there to be more interaction.
Yeah, I think one thing I like the most about them is they don't feel overpowered at all. Because the idea of like a card that could be a spell or a land that can come untapped sounds broken. But then, I mean, the other side, most of them had high mana costs, or they're more super impactful. I think Sinking the Super is one of the cheapest mana costs, because I think most of them are like 4 or 5. So it's like, if you have the mana and you want that effect, then go ahead. But if you need a land, you got that land. So it's powerful, but I don't think it's breaking, which it has the potential. So I'm glad they held back on these cards. Because it's super easy to make a breaking card with that.
Absolutely.
And then there's another cycle, which is, I spent a while trying to figure out what I wanted. And one of the cycle of cards that I picked was the new Planeswalker double-sided. I wanted to make some low-powered, which trying to do precons. We never finished them, but I think, especially if you're new to Magic, I think these make a really good beginner commanders. And Ral was my favorite out of the five. I think there was just five. I think there's one for each color.
Yeah.
And Ral was my favorite out of them. I know a lot of people like the blue green, which is she's the most played. But I like Ral a bit more personally. They're not all bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
They're very like powerful on the front,
yeah.
and then on the back they usually do something that pushes you more towards ending the game, like Rao copying a spell in the later when you don't care too much about the mana reduction.
And they all are like core like things for those colors too, because even like the forgot her name, the blue green one's all about like scrying and card reduction and card more cards.
Clues.
The white red one's about tokens and dealing low damage, and making cats, so that having another cat commander is always popular. I can't remember the other ones right now. I know there's a green black one that's graveyard. So it's like they're all the core mechanics for those colors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say it's like if you can get these cards and they're not that expensive. And you're new to Magic, it's like it's super like just straightforward Magic. It's like they're really easy to build around. They're really cheap. They're all low cost to play them. Like he's 2 mana. Drop them out. You're already going to be benefiting if you're playing a spell slinging deck. And then to flip them is not super difficult to do. None of them are that hard to do. And you get a Planeswalker. And then if they die, you just pay it again for 4 mana. So it's like...
They're super cheap. So when you play them a second time, it doesn't feel like that big of a cost.
Especially when you have 2 loyalties, so you kind of need that.
Yeah.
Though he gets more loyalty. I don't know if you can read his ability. But his ability, he gets loyalty based on how many spells you've casted that turn. So he definitely likes playing Storm. So if you played like 5 instants, he's going to come in with a 7 loyalty. So yeah, it sounds bad. It looks bad with the 2, but he can get more if you're doing what he wants you to do, essentially. But yeah, that was one of my favorite. I think one of my favorite cards is. It's just so many good cards. I almost did the cycle of the stack a creature instead of paying the cost. There's like the counter spell. There's the like you won't lose the game or life or anything spell. Or it's the I forgot what they're called, but they're the instant speed like sack a white creature or sack a blue creature and you don't have to pay the mana cost.
Yeah.
The free cast spells.
Flares of
Yeah. I actually like that cycle. I know some people didn't, but I think they're better than they look. After playing, I played the white and the blue, and I have the green one, but I haven't needed to sack anything. It's like a free cultivate essentially, which is so good. So good.
But just another cultivate in the deck is also just good. It's
it's literally the same cost as
good too. Yeah,
it's the same cost as cultivate, but you have the option to sack a green creature to not pay the mana for cultivate. Like I don't know how that's like bad. It's like why wouldn't that be in your deck if you run cultivate? I don't know much more to say about the set. There's there's powerful Eldrazi that are super game breaking in the set. You met one of those the other day. They exiled half your deck, if you remember.
Yeah. That was fun. You exiled half my deck when I had 0 lands.
And then now
because you destroyed them.
and then I can remove half the permanents all the permanents on somebody's field because we're still beginning because he had 7 counters.
Yeah, that was a fun game for everyone. So
you said Eldrazi are fun.
Yeah.
Just for the player.
Out of 10, it feels like a disservice to give this a 9. I it may be a 10 out of 10. I have trouble thinking of another set I enjoyed as much as this one. I think it pushed the game forward in a really fun and interesting way that's going to last for quite some time. Um, I love a lot of almost all the new additions, ones that slot in easily to almost every deck, some that slot in to more advanced decks. It was fun to buy packs. I didn't draft it, but I'm sure it'd be insanely fun to draft. Um, yeah, I feel like this was exactly what I want in a set. Uh, I would give it a 10 out of 10.
I I want to rate it high. Um, I'd say probably mine's more of a 9.
Hmm.
Um, we really needed a magic set, and this was our magic set because we hadn't seen a magic like a magic set in almost a year. Because even last year, we got a lot of themed or universe beyond stuff. So to get a solid like this is magic. This is core magic right here.
Hmm.
Um, was great. It's so funny because that's one of the things that it's funny that people didn't like about or like talk about like foundations is just the core set, and we'll talk about foundation later. But we've had so much non-magic to get like magic again
Hmm.
is like so refreshing. It's like
Yeah.
it's just nice. I think
What
that's
is
why you
what is
liked it so
this?
much.
I like this.
And this the only thing that knocks it down for me, and it's not surprising because Modern Horizons, but I hate the just because it's Modern Horizons, we got to up the cost of packs. Um, the
Oh,
the
yeah.
the premium price for precons, premium price for packs, and that's just arbitrary. I don't think it needed to be um, more expensive. I just think it's the artificial value that Magic wanted to do. I just don't think it's necessary. And I personally, I think it detracts because it keeps people from being able to play the cards. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, a 9. I'd be a 9. It's definitely
Okay.
you cards we'll see for many years added to the game, fun to play. I mean, the list goes on. Next set, I probably will gloss over pretty quickly. I'll run down what came in the set real quick, and then we could talk a little bit about it. I know neither of us really participated in the set very much. This is Universe Beyond Assassin's Creed. Um,
Yeah.
the one reason this set's going to do so great was 7 card packs, 100 card set. First one that's modern legal. Um, Starting off strong with controversy. And then there's some alt art borderless with serialized historical figures. So the historical figures, like Cleopatra and stuff like that, had alternate art with you could possibly get a serial number on it. And then they had the memory corridor art frames, which is the alt art that you typically saw when you open packs. I didn't like them very much. It's like mostly white card. Um, I am an old fan of Assassin's Creed, but I don't like the new stuff. So I already was like Ubisoft and Magic. Like it's like you really are coming after my wallet with both of these. Wizards and Ubisoft are not known for their generosity with their customers.
Mhm. I just don't never liked Assassin's Creed. I never really enjoyed the franchise that much, so
Yeah.
I was not really interested. I will say a few of the cards were fun, and I'm glad that they exist, but I don't have much else to say about it. I
Um. Yeah, there's not much to say. This is how you don't do a universe beyond. If there's only gonna be 100 cards, I don't understand why we did packs. I don't. There, it was a waste of money. They cost the same as a normal pack, and you get like half the
Yeah.
amount of cards in it. And just the ratio was off. I think this would have been better as precons. I just don't, I guess they couldn't think of a fourth precon. Maybe they could have just done 2 precons, and I've been fine with it. Do the
Mhm.
like the Ezio and a Crusader deck, and I would have been fine. I think they should do an Ezio and a Crusader deck. Good, and then maybe do some special packs if they wanted for the historical figures and some of the
Mhm.
bonus like they did with the previous ones. reprint special art just like they already did. I think they should have done 2 precons, and I would have been fine with it. I think the most played card out of this, one of the most played, is the first white creature that can be played as many times as you want, which is that little Crusader guy.
Oh yeah,
One of the weaker ones in my opinion, because it's like you
yeah,
get like
sure.
10 of them or something. I don't remember how many, and then you can like get
I think
a
it's 6, and you get a equipment. Yeah.
equipment or artifact or something out of your deck. Um,
Hmm.
your favorite card was a reprint.
Yeah.
tw-
Uh, the Black Market Connections. They gave me a Black Market Connections that is foil etched. I love foil etch. It is the best card style they've ever done. And I like the art better. That's all I have to say about it, though.
One of the only cards that I've played with this set, and I bought like a card, and I pulled this card, and I added it to my equipment deck, which is the Excalibur card. That was the card I picked.
Mm.
Just if you play artifacts, I mean, it's a possibly free casted 10-10 sword, or 10-0 sword.
Oh, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I guess I didn't dislike it, but I have nothing to say about it.
Um, I don't know. I might give it a 4.
Okay.
I felt like how the packs and how they did it. I felt like it was. I just felt like it was horrible.
Yeah, you're right.
Modern.
You're
I think
right.
it took away from modern.
Mhm.
The packs itself, I think, cheated people that bought the pack and didn't know any better. And then, to be honest, some of these decks, we had somebody, and I don't like playing against them. I'm sorry. I don't like. We have a person who has in our pod, and I apologize, but I don't really like the mechanic of Forerunner, and I don't know. I just don't like the assassin part. I just don't find them that like they're not bad. I guess they're not unfun. They're just not like I'm glad I played against that commander. It's like okay, that exists.
I the anxiety I have about that deck is I just don't know what's coming out. I don't know what the assassins are anymore because they printed so many in that set.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. The packs being 7 cards at a normal price, typical Ubisoft. Am I right? You're right. It probably should be a 4.
I mean they had some decent cards in there that might see play, but it's you could easily skip this set. I did. I bought like one, I think 2 packs. I don't remember. I didn't buy much from this set.
Yeah, I don't think I bought any of them.
Bloomborough is our next set. That's probably one of the most popular sets we got this year. So Bloomborough. Notes that I have from Bloomborough, we got some reprints of Planeswalkers, returning Planeswalkers as animals. By the way, this whole set has animals. They're all like humanoid except for the Calamity Beasts, I believe, and the enchantment ones. I can't remember what they're called. We got these borderless all art race foils. We got field note showcase art of Calamity Beasts. We got woodland showcase art of those enchantments, and then we got 4 season art of Three Tree City and the basics. So the 4 seasons is reprinted, and then special guest alt art again. So yeah, whimsical animals.
Yeah. The art style is very cute and I think very attractive to new players, which is the big reason I was super for it.
Yeah.
However, I the cards look so samey to me. It's really
it felt safe. I think my opinion was it felt safe and a little too cutesy on some of the cards. But I do agree, it really does help. There's some cards in there really good for new players, though. I know that was like some of the people's like, oh yeah, this is, and I think that was the command zones like opinion, like this is the beginners, I disagree. Foundations, I think, is the best for new beginners. If I had a new person, I'd give them Foundations any time of the day. Um, Breaking off from like learning Magic and you want your first theme, this is a great set for. I don't necessarily think this is the ideal like I'm new to Magic set. Um, but yeah, getting somebody that's like unsure if they want to play in a Magic is really can help you swing them over without like bombarding them with too much mechanics, because a lot of cards weren't super mechanic heavy. Um, and we had the paw print modal cards. That's
Oh
like
yeah.
you spend so much mana like a normal modal, but you get like 4 paw prints, and each one had a cost of paw prints. So it's like you do 1 paw print for this ability, 3 paw prints for this ability. So it was an interesting take on modal spells again. Um,
Hmm.
One card I didn't pick as my favorite card that is of note is the Through Tree City. I think is a super powerful card if you're running Typal. Um, and then the precons. I thought all the precons are pretty fun. I bought 2 of them. Um,
Hmm.
One of the best precons this year, in my opinion, for sure.
Ooh. Well, tell us about it. Which one is it?
Which one? Oh, the 2 that I bought.
The best one? Yeah.
I don't know the best one. I didn't buy the Offspring one but I played against it. That one's very strong. I mean, making copies of creatures when they come in, it's nothing. It's you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the 4th one right off the tip of my. The Squirrel one was really good. Could have been stronger. It was a little weird, but really good deck though still. And then Bumbleflower.
Bumbleflower.
I feel like first. I feel like the best group precon we've gotten. We got one before, but I mean that's back when we were still limited, and I don't think it was. The commander is great but the deck wasn't. I think, yeah. So, Bumbleflower and the Squirrels. I can't remember the Squirrels commander right now. Were the ones that I bought.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't buy any of the precons. I did buy a few packs. And there was quite a few cards in here for Commander.
Yeah.
So I did like it for that. I know that there was a few cards in here that were very degenerate in Standard. That led to like turn 2 victories.
Yeah.
And kind of like ruined Standard on Arena. But I
I mean, that wasn't the first time that's happened to
let's
Arena.
be real,
So.
it was ruined already.
Yeah.
Um, so
I know
yeah, I
you
didn't.
talking with you. I know you seem like you were kind of late in the game of Bloom Barrel, because like I feel like up until recently you weren't really completely sold on Bloom Barrel. So I feel like you started to kind of warm up to Bloom Barrel. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I
felt
I never I never disliked it, but yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, this set's not for me. But I do like that it exists. I do like that this is gonna be for different people to push different people into Magic. They're gonna see that art and go, oh, that's very different from what I've seen. Maybe I'll pick up a few packs, and then they're hooked, and that's great because there's more people to play Magic with.
and the Calamity Beasts. I think all of them were pretty impactful, and they felt very villainous. Which you picked one of the Calamity Beasts. That was kind of the villain of the set.
Yeah.
And they felt like even like the red one is the one that like players can't gain life, and it like it's like a burn creature, won't let people gain life. So it really felt. Oh, and then there's like the fish one that like turns island or lands into islands, and then it like just floods counters and stuff. So they like they're supposed to be like shaping the land, but they also like definitely feel like they're villainous in a way. So I like that aspect. I thought those were pretty cool.
Well, yeah. So I picked Lumra as my favorite card. Um, I I I do like this art a lot, where like all the leaves are like pointed towards her. But I do like the other one more,
picked the wrong
the
art,
alt art one. Yeah, where it's where she's like knocking the the little bunnies around. Like I feel like that would really capture the Bloomborough art style more.
But
Um, but I
one,
also just like her the most because of her mechanics. Just I love ramp in general, especially bigger ramp spells. And like this one like enables you to like sacrifice all your lands and then return them all, which sounds really fun. I think I'm gonna build her.
yeah, one thing, the only thing I dislike about these style of cards, it's like when I play them in a deck, a lot of these cards feel out of place. They don't like match the rest of the deck, like the art style and stuff. It just feels weird. But you get the same thing with Universe Beyond. So, mine was Dawn's Truce. I've run
Mhm.
in most of my white decks, and I've started taking like Teferi's Protection out of my decks. One, because of the high mana cost. When I need it, I usually don't have the mana for it because I don't know when
Mhm.
I'm gonna need it. And two, I just think it's a really good budget card. I don't know. I think it's a really good auto include for anything that runs white. I love the
Yeah.
gift of card mechanic because it's like it feels more fair for the game. Sure, giving a card and Commander a gift a card is way more better than Standard. I can see why you wouldn't
Mhm.
like it because you're giving your opponent a card. And Commander, I can pick. I can see somebody's
Yeah.
like far behind. Hey, you don't have much cards and you're not trying to kill me. Give a card.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Commander, you're making a friend. It's hey,
but
if you don't
yeah,
attack me with that one, and I give you a card, we cool?
so it gives you impermanence hexproof already, and then if you give the gift, it gives permanence all indestructible. It's not as good as Teferi's Protection, but it does majority of what you want out of Teferi's Protection. Gives you
Mhm.
hexproof, and it gives so your enchantments, artifacts, and all that, and so it's because it's all permanent. So
Yeah.
um,
And like sometimes you don't even need to give someone a card. Sometimes just giving yourself hexproof is just good enough.
yeah, I think it was a fun mechanic. And yeah, I just think Dawn's Truce is a really good card. I think a lot of people overlooked it. Um,
Mhm.
but that's the most card I have out of this set. Um, what did you rate the set at?
I think I'd give it a 7. Just because it wasn't for me doesn't mean I don't like it. Um, and I feel like I've gone over the reasons already, but I think it was good enough. I feel like it's kind of stood out on its own. It wasn't just, Kellen with a different hat on this time. Um, so yeah, I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, I see a lot of people rating it really really high. I think it's an overrated set for sure. I don't think it's a bad set at all. I just don't see how it's the best set this year. I think I think a lot of it is people just got tired of what we already got this year. So having this set was kind of refreshing in that aspect. But yeah, I believe I had a 7 as well. I don't think it's better than Horizon or Fallout. I'd put those above those for sure. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a solid deck, a solid thing, but I think it's too out there for me to really sell me on it.
Mhm.
Um, hard to call this next one a set, but it is considered a set. This one will be quick. Um, I know you didn't participate in it and most people did because of the price of the
Oh
set.
yeah, it was so expensive to be to
Um,
open.
I jumped on it pretty early and I bought it when I shouldn't have. Um, and this is Mystery Booster 2. I bought the box and I did not draft it. I considered it, but to be honest, if I draft it with our group, I would in the end want my cards back because I wanted the cards in this set. To be honest, I've opened a Mystery Booster box before, and it's like okay, this was really fun to open. Like there were some like really low costed cards that
Mhm.
like low value cards that like normally I'd be upset, but because of like some of these cards I hadn't seen in forever, and then the because we got white bordered Future Sight and Alchemy arts and the new art and new art and some cards, which includes art from Magic Online, the art they call Slush Art, Whiteout, Magic Arena, and Vanguard. All these new arts that felt very old school too, including Vanguard. Um, I had fun. I had fun looking through the commons. Like I looked through each one of these, and it was just really fun to do. I wish I could have drafted it, but having white bordered normally is annoying, but some of the cards were fun, especially the white bordered of Whiteout, which literally the new. The only reason I put Whiteout was the art because it had a new art. But literally, for Whiteout, they just put a white block. It was just I don't know if you've seen it. I think I showed you the picture, but it's literally as the white border, and the picture is just white. There's nothing and just a white. It's really funny. I love that. Future Sight. At first, in the old school, when I didn't like Future Sight originally, but seeing it again was refreshing.
Yeah, same. Whenever I had like Future Sight Termagoyfs in my original Modern deck, and I thought, God, these cards are so ugly, and now I want them on my wall. So, sorry.
I really love seeing the Vanguard art because I don't get to play Vanguard cards because they're not normal Magic, but I like the art, and it's really the only reason why I picked the Urza. I like the card Urza. I know it's so broken, so I want to play it, but I know it's rough. But I really love the Vanguard art of Urza, and so that's the only reason why I picked it is I like the art of it. So I really like the design of this card quite a bit.
Yeah. I really like the card Mindbreak Trap. It's one of my pet cards. And then like this art of it like zoomed in on like more specifically the mage and like the golem faces. I think just makes it look that much better. I really want this version of this card.
Yeah, I love a well-timed Mindbreak Trap. When the stack is high and you just slap that down. It's so
Exiles all spells, gets around uncounterable.
Well, it's any number of targets, so it's not just all spells. It's whatever spell you want to exile. So when you're in a counter war with your opponent, you drop that down and you get rid of all those counter spells. Yeah, it's a fun card to see. We needed a reprint. Sadly, I don't think this set lowered its price very much, but I like the frame on it for sure. Gonna gloss over this one a little bit. The price and hopefully they start printing, and they do that with one, so I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more of it. For right now, I don't know. I want to give it a 7. I feel like I'm being overly generous because of the cost and the low availability. I just really like the card designs, even though they're all reprints, and also getting some alchemy cards I think is fun. I would love to see more be able to, even though like, cause we get, I don't know. I'm surprised that we don't get like the unsets don't include some alchemy cards in them.
Yeah.
So it's just a little fun to give that as an option. I don't know. I think just the fun I had opening it. I think a 7.
Yeah, I think 7's pretty fair. The low availability, I think this is going to be one of the same ones that I did with previous mystery boosters. Yeah. They're going to be handing them out at conventions and stuff like that. I think the limited printing of them, I think that'll fix itself. As usual, I mean, mystery boosters are just super fun to open. So I think that what they did here was exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah,
another good mystery booster.
I think they improved on mystery booster a lot. Because there were several mystery boosters I was disappointed in opening up, and I was like, oh man, that was a waste of money. This one, even if I wasted money, I still had fun. So I really like that. I'm glad they did good. if we start seeing more Mystery Booster 2 and I could go back, I'd probably rate it higher. Definitely improvement on Mystery Booster 1. So good job on that. That was a win for me, Wizards. Just don't make it hard to get. Honestly, I think they should do replace some of the list cards with the Mystery Booster 2. But that's just me. Next set, I was excited for, and the more I played with the set, the less I liked the set. Was Duskmourn House of Horror.
Oh yeah, Duskmourn.
The horror theme set had Lurking Evil alt cards. Fun fact about Lurking Evil: most people didn't even know there was a Lurking Evil alt art card. Some cards had this little like shadow figure looming in the background, and it was only in certain prints. It looked the same as the normal print, but there was a little shadow in the background. That was the only difference. Same card. Like, that's what most people... You'd only know if you looked at the bottom number or if you knew what you were looking for. I don't even know if you knew about them, but they're a thing.
I did not know about it. That was the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, there's like 10 cards, I think, that got it. And then there's the Paranormal Showcase frames, I think, were the least liked of the cards, are the ones that look kind of like Ghostbustery. There was the Mirror Monster Borderless cards. Those ones are pretty cool. It's like you get an alternate, because it's a take on some of the old horror art, where you get like the alternate. So you like you'd get like one where it's like this slasher guy, and then you get the alternate art where he's like coming at you, or something. So it's like different perspective essentially. And then there's the Anime Showcase, which came in English and Japanese, and then also a pretty fractured foil.
Yeah, I love fractured foils.
And that's a thing that the Japanese community has had in TCG since the 90s, so it took us a while. The special guest alt art again, and then we also got a Nightmare Edition set with 6 unique movie poster alt art reprints. So this set was pretty interesting. I bought more than I probably should of this set.
Yeah, I bought quite a few packs of this set, and I quickly realized that, like, with the exception of like the 3 or 4 rares and my favorite card, it's already up, Untimely Malfunction.
I hate you for that, by the way.
I felt like there may be some tension there. That there was just not anything here that was like interesting or fun. It didn't feel like the theme was really there either. It felt very loose on its definition of horror. Sometimes it felt like it's happening right here, right now, in this world. And then sometimes it felt like, it's Stranger Things. And then sometimes it felt like, it's Innistrad. What's going on?
But it's not Innistrad. The whole plane is inside a mansion, which is kind of weird. The enchantment creatures I thought were cool because if like they die, they come back as an enchantment. I want to include them in several decks, but I haven't found. I'm like, I see those cards. I'm like, those would be good cards, but I haven't added them. I actually own, I think, all of them, and I've never added them to any of my decks. Like that's a cool card. That's great that it comes back as an enchantment, but like, okay.
And there's like some cards that are like interesting, like in a mechanic way, like the pint size murderer. It's not pint size slasher. It's the one that when it hits you, you lose half your life.
Oh yeah.
And then when it dies, it doesn't actually die. It comes back in like 3 turns or something like that.
Honestly, and like I think we get the most OP uncommon creature this year was out of the set too, which is the doll.
Yeah,
the one that
guy's crazy. Can like copy things.
No. I'm talking about the it's the creepy little ceramic doll. I can't think of it.
But like
Isabella. When she attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. I've
Oh,
seen, I've seen a
wow.
lot of crazy stuff with that card. Instant wins with her. She costs 2
Yeah.
mana, red, white, and she's an uncommon, a 1/3 uncommon. I have her in my Ishin deck, and she destroys with Ishin because
Yeah.
it happens
I
twice.
bet. That's insane.
And with Delny out, she
Um,
happens 3 times.
okay, buddy.
Well, actually, no, because it's a double double. I think it might be
And
4. I
with
don't know.
Gandalf out, it's 4 times. And um,
She's pretty. She's an unassuming uncommon that is, yeah. Um,
uh, but
yeah,
but like, I'm not gonna play that. Or not Isabel, the card I was talking about.
yeah. Oh, you're talking about
I'm
the
not gonna
doll.
play that in anything. I mean, like,
It's cool. Yeah,
um,
I haven't. I see it. Yeah, it's like it's another thing. It's like that's a cool effect. I would like to see that played, but it's so gimmicky. I don't know.
so weak, and yeah, um, that was just the story of this set. It felt so underpowered. Um, it it felt like a bad standard set,
Yeah.
which kind of refreshing.
In your favorite
uh,
card, I that's why I'm angry. I bought I think 8 copies of it off TCG Player because it was like
yeah.
low price at the time. Because it's like,
Mhm.
and then I pulled a couple, but it's like it's an auto include in every red. Anything that has red, there's no reason why you're not putting it in your deck. I don't see, I don't know of any deck that won't want this in their deck. Like, and I don't see how, if I pull up deck lists on like EDH Rec, like
Mhm.
I sometimes look at like what people are using, because all EDH Rec does is, if you don't know, it uses what people are running, and it's based on percentage. Like if people are running for this commander these cards, and it's going to be high probability, so it's based on what people are running. And I don't see
Mhm.
untimely malfunction in any deck that runs red. And Magic Community, you're wrong. I'm sorry. This has to be in every red deck. I don't, unless you
all of
just,
those, sorry,
I don't,
all of those modes are good,
yeah,
and like all of them are worth 2 mana. It's, it's like that's so much utility. You're always going to get something out of it, whether it's just getting through in a combat step, which is just important enough, or removing the problem artifact, or changing the target of a spell. All of those are so strong. Um, it does feel like every single red deck wants this effect.
yeah. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. It's going to be hard to argue unless you just don't have the card. Why this card isn't in your deck? I'm sorry. If you have red in your mana cost, this should be in your deck. Um, Withering Torment was the one I ended up using. I think is another really high option. I chose this. I don't like the frame. I like the art on this one a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the Withering Torment is starting to be a clue in most black decks just because the lack of enchantment removal. Um, we already have 2 to 3 mana cost removals for creatures, so just tacking on enchantment,
Mm-hmm.
it's just I've taken out a couple of these type of instant removals in my black decks just to put this one in, just because of the enchantment removal. We don't get it in black, so it's nice. Um,
Yeah, and like compared to like feed to the swarm, um, I think it's just better most of the time because the amount of life you end up paying with feed for the swarm is always way more than you think it's gonna be.
yeah,
You're never targeting a 2 mana thing. You're always targeting a 7 or 8 mana thing. It hurts so much more than you think it will, and it being sorcery is just
oh yeah,
infinitely
yeah.
worse. It's definitely worth the extra mana. Um, it feels just like if you don't have Writhing Torment in your deck, take Feed the Swarm out and put that in. It's just better.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing this more and more decks. At first, when I saw this, I thought it was a little overrated because of Feed the Swarm costs less, but then I forgot it was an instant speed, um,
Hmm.
which is when you want to use these the most. Because you don't want to wait till it's your turn to remove some enchantments, to be honest with you. Some enchantments need to be removed if you don't counter what you can't in black. So, yeah, it's a good card. The only thing we didn't talk about real quick is the precons. Not a whole lot to talk about. Some good. There's out of the 4, 2 good commanders out of the 2 decks, but I think only one of the decks was actually really playable. I think even Delny. No, what's the blue black that you like?
Mirko.
Marco. I think her deck, her precon isn't very good, but her as a card I think is great.
Wait, what? Blue black what?
Her precon. Marco's. Doesn't she have a precon, or am I thinking the wrong one?
That one was from Murders.
Oh, she. Oh, I'm getting mixed up.
The Quandrix, the green-blue one, is the
Okay.
one I thought was really strong. The one that manifests dread, and then if you have
that's the
played a second land, it flips a card. Like
I think the Valgavoth deck out of the box is the strongest, but most potential, definitely her. I think her deck.
Yeah.
Zimone is what it is. She's the strongest of the commanders, but Valgavoth's deck, Endless Punishment, I think is the best out of the box. That's how I would rate it. Because I've looked through the list and I've played with them. Green black's one. I've seen that Zimone. The Zimone's the landfall one, and they all really kind of, especially the enchantment one. I thought her deck was going to be so good. The miracle deck. Oh, I've seen that deck. I've never seen that deck do good. I'm sorry. It sucks. Valgavoth is the only one I think is actually playable out of the 4.
But the Quandrix deck, I feel like, is such a good deck to upgrade.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were going to recommend a deck to someone to like buy and then upgrade as they go along, she's the one, because she's like a landfall deck that fixes the problem of Simic landfall decks of just eventually you're just playing lands to get more cards and then like you're casting spells to get more lands.
Yeah, your landfall deck is to build an engine and play lands, and that engine, only thing it does is allow you to play lands. It's just more lands, and you just go in this like cycle and don't progress.
But she's putting creatures into play for you, and then you can use those creatures to actually end the game. It like actually progresses the game forward, while still allowing you to be a Simic landfall deck, which I think is something that if you have just one deck you want to play over and over, that's probably the kind of deck you want to play.
We'll get to the ratings. I think I rated the last one first. If you want to go with this one now.
Okay. So again, the overall power level of this set was pretty low. And the theme felt off, but there were shining moments. I think most of the commander decks were very interesting, and there were a few cards that are gonna stick around. But overall, I think I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It was not the best. I feel like if you picked up a few booster packs, I think you see the whole set. So.
Yeah, my problem with the set is it felt too similar to Murders of Karlov, because it's like some of the like I literally just mixed up the commander from that set, because they're so similar. Like you could change out cards from this set and that set and switch them, and you wouldn't notice they didn't belong in this set. Like the one you like, you could put her in this set. I wouldn't notice. Honestly,
absolutely.
I think they should took some of the cards out of Murders and Karlov and put it in this set. And we didn't need Murders of Karlov. And then it was too similar to Innistrad, which we already saw a ton of before in the previous a couple years ago. And then because we got like 3 sets of it back to back or whatever, or really close to each other, and then we're getting the remastered coming. So it feels like a little much with like, I like horror. and I love Innistrad, but and the biggest problem with Innistrad is the power level just never seems like it is good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think a 6. If I gave, I would rather play with Bloomburrow than I would with Duskmourn, so I probably would go with a 6 for sure on this one.
Okay.
Because I believe, Bloomburrow in a 7. The reason I even like this set is just because of I'm a big fan of some of the staples. So, excuse me. Um, then our last set, and one of my favorite sets. I am a huge fan of this set, and I'm gonna probably buy this set for a while. Every time I see it in store, I buy like 1 or 2 packs now. I used to do that a lot, but now it's like we usually see like Duskmourn in the store or something like that, and I get so disappointed now. I'm like, why am I buying packs again with this stuff? I'm never gonna be happy with anything I open, which is Foundations. Foundations, I think, it's a new set they came out with. They should have done this a long time ago. It's basically similar to a core set. It's a standard. It's going to be standard legal till 2029. It comes with borderless alt art, anime showcase with a fractured foil, mana foil, new foil. It's like a texture with the mana symbols on it. It looks really cool. They got special guests returning with art from previous sets. Meaning like the art frames, so they have like each card has like there's an Innistrad card, there's a Ravnica card, so they have like the similar frames. If you haven't seen them, it's cool looking them up. They also come with a beginner box, and I believe that one has like similar to the old pre-built decks that you used to get. It was like the Versus 2 decks. So you could basically practice Magic for first timers. It's actually really well done. I don't know if you've looked at it. If you played Magic, played it before, you don't really need to buy it. But if you're looking at getting into Magic, honestly, I think it's one of the best tools you can get. At least for like learning how to play Standard and stuff, or just like the basics of Magic. And then the starter collection, new to Magic and you want to fill your without buying a bunch of packs, starter collection is pretty good for that. I think it's a little costly for what comes in the box. I think it should be cheaper, but it's not bad. If you have Magic cards already, don't really need it because it's a lot of stuff you already have. But it has a lot of core pieces. I think it's one of the most things to note, what you want to have starting a deck. And then we return with Jumpstart with special anime art. I'm not a big fan of, but we got some good cards out of it, so I won't complain as much as I would before.
Yeah, this is the set to have Jumpstart for sure.
Yeah. They said they weren't going to do Jumpstart anymore, but yeah, this is my opinion. I'm going to disagree with the people from Command Zone. I've already mentioned the game. I'm sorry, but this is the beginner set. I'm sorry, but this is. Because when you open a pack, I mean, there's so many staples that you can find in these packs. I mean, like Land of War Elves is in this. Cards that should stay in Magic, and the reason why they made Foundations, it should stay in Standard. That should never rotate out because they're literally core Magic. I'm a huge fan. And then it had core cards in it that you need, and then it had really good cards that pretty much are good includes in any deck.
Yeah, they had a lot of chase cards, surprisingly. Like the ones that they included, I was like, oh, okay, that'll be a nice card. And then like I finally played against it and I was like, oh, that's insane. Oh, that's a really good card. I should be buying more Foundations.
Yeah. It's a good set. I like that it doesn't go away for like Standard and stuff till 2029. Standard needed a long time ago. It's sad that I'm excited to see a core set.
Yeah, I know.
But we needed it. We needed it years ago. I think the last core set we got was 21, I believe. I think that was literally the last printed core set. Is 21. This is Magic. Magic at its core, and what we needed. We need to have a set at least every year that is at least one set that's pure Magic, a core set. So it's disappointing that we don't get that anymore. But having a one printing of it is cool. So I think this is the biggest win this year for Magic, in my opinion. So kind of, you already know what's going to happen with my ratings. We didn't get any commander specific stuff in this one. I don't think, did we? No, we didn't get.
We got like smaller things like Bolt Wave, like 1 mana, deal 3 to each opponent. But like most of the ones that were for commander were like the really high end cards.
Yeah.
The Twin Flame Tyrant, Bloodthirsty Conqueror.
Anything that's like not specific to commander like you got in previous sets though, but which it was fine. A lot of this is more meant for standard.
Yeah.
But a lot of the cards will still work for commander. So I mean, and then there's like the Jumpstart cards has some surprisingly powerful cards in it. So yeah, there's a lot of good cards in this set for sure.
Well, moving on to my favorite card in the set, that was the loot that came in this one. I love cards that let you play additional lands every turn, and like Dryad of the Leash. No, that's a different card.
There's the green. It's got a woman on it. That's a additional land, and it just says 3 mana. You play additional land. Yeah, Azusa Lost Beseeching. It's literally Azusa, but has a 5 mana or 6 mana tap ability.
Well, Azusa's 2. Azusa's 2 lands.
Is it 2? Oh.
This is 1 land, yeah. But this one I like quite a bit more than like some of the other like ones that were 3 mana and give you 1 additional. Because this one allows you to actually do something with all those lands later.
Or just do something in general, because even like Dryad, it just does more lands. And this it gives you something to do with the card. So you could actually run this as a commander for a landfall, because it gives you more than just more lands.
Yeah. But this is definitely going in my land combo deck.
And I think
that's what I have to say about it.
I think the one I picked, I think you would agree with me. I started adding this in a lot of decks. Well, I say a lot, like 3 decks. I think I've added it in now. Archmage of Runes. It literally combines 2 different cards into one. Adds like the Archmage of I remember what it's called, but it's the one.
Narratives.
4 mana, you play instant sorcery, you draw a card, so it does that for, and a 1 mana more. It's a discount. It's a staple pretty much for instant sorcery decks now.
I play it in my instant sorcery deck. I think I would continue to put it in all of them. I do feel like the discount is kind of lost.
Yeah.
But maybe that's because the deck that I play it in is like super high mana cost spells, so I'm only going to get like 1 discount maybe a turn. But I could see this in like a spell slinger type deck, this being the most insane card in it.
Yeah, I wish the mana cost was a little bit lower. But like I said, comparing it to the other Archmage card that does the half of this effect is 4 mana, so you're literally just paying 1 more mana to get a discount. I think it's worth it. I wish it was like 3 mana though. It'd be super powerful if it was 3 mana.
It would be insane if it was 3 mana.
I just feel like how Magic spin though, it should be 3 mana, but that's my opinion. Yeah, it's a fun card. And that's like, but most of this set is like adds a lot of staples to mechanics. We went back down, and then the reprints were like, I don't think I needed any of the reprints, but I could see like, I mean, having multiples of them is nice, and they're all like core cards in like standard and stuff, and even in commander. So yeah, I think it's a great set. I rate this as a 10. I think this is the biggest one for Magic this year. We should have had this a long time ago. Yeah. What do you think?
So I really liked the set. I think that it's good for new players. I think that it's Great for standard. I think that we needed to go back to having a core set because it rotated too easily.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't love it that much. I think I would give it. I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem with standard 2, and they were losing people, is because we got this point where there's so many niche sets. All the like core sets were rotated out, so it's just left with these like niche sets that had like no like core builds anymore. And so you got
Yeah.
most of them was like really janky, like cheating in stuff is the only thing that would dominate. Uh, the decks that were dominating was like cheating in cards for free. The black red black, and then became red white.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, that should be it for the sets this year.
Mhm.
We get a couple things so some honorable mentions that I was going to mention real quick. We had some fun secret layers this year. I'm not going to list all of them because some of them were very easy to get over.
Too many. Yeah.
The Cats and Dogs Commander deck was pretty cool. We got a second Commander deck, but I'm not mentioning that one because I don't think it was very good. The Sheldon spell book, the Sheldon Meanery, because he passed away last year, or 2023. Probably the best, and that's great for his honoring his memory, because not only was the art fantastic, but great staples that needed reprinted anyways. I bought it. I love the card art. I love it. Sheldon, we miss you, and you started something that ruined my wallet, and I appreciate you for it. Then we got the Hatsune Miku one. Not for me, but pretty popular.
Let me go.
We got the Monty Python Secret Lair. Interesting. Not as good as the others on this list. And then we got several Dungeons and Dragons ones. So we got 2 Dungeons and Dragons classic arts, and then an Asterion and Karlach from Baldur's Gate 3, which were pretty cool. Cool art. I think Asterion won on the art though. His art was a bit better than Karlach's for sure, but great cards.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Ghostbusters cartoon Secret Lair, and then a bit of controversy. We got the Marvel Secret Lair with Black Panther, Captain America, Iron Man, Storm, and Wolverine. We'll address that controversy in the lows of this year. So, before we get into anything specific, do you want to give any thoughts, or would you rather talk about stuff first and then give thoughts about just 2024 in general?
Let's just. So, I have to talk about it now. It was mentioned. I really, really wanted to build Storm.
Yeah, that's one of the lows for sure.
I liked all the cards in the set, and then or in the secret layer, and then I couldn't buy it. I could not buy it. And whenever scalpers decided to like sell their pre-orders, it was $200.
Well,
I cannot afford to spend $200 on 5 cards.
Well, that started at the beginning of this year because they announced at literally beginning of 2024 they were moving back to limited print. Before last year, and I think half the year before, they were doing print to order, which means they printed a couple, and then what they would do is they'd have the order for a certain amount of time, like several months, and then if you ordered something off there, no matter how many they printed out, they'll print you order it and they'll print that number out. They print them in batches. Problem is, I guess they're overprinting some because they're printing them in advance, or some wouldn't sell, and so they felt they were losing money. But in the end, we lost out of that deal because now they're print. They're limited prints. They only print so much, so you get people with bots and rushing on, and then people finding exploits in the shopping process, which wasn't a big deal until there was a set that everybody wanted, and there was a line. Problem is people knew already and spread the word a little bit that you don't, or just found it by accident. Don't worry about the line. The line's not meant for you. Who needs a line? Oh, and only limited per buy. There's a way to get around that too. So you can buy as many as you want without waiting at all. So if you were a normal person that just hopped on the site, clicked on the one you wanted, and was told to wait, maybe an hour, 6 hours later, sold out.
That was me.
Even if you were there immediately when it started. So people that were would be considered the front of the line didn't get the chance to buy it. So yeah, that was one of the lows this year's. Getting rid of limited print wizards, please stop doing that. It all it does is help people that are reselling it. It does not help stores. Stores aren't able to hop on these sites and to buy them immediately. They don't run bots. These are people that are exploiting it on eBay and stuff like that. Please don't feed that. If you want to know why, look up on YouTube of Pokemon at Costco or other places and see how it turned that community of these people that don't respect the cards or the community of hopping in it just to make money. And that's the problem with Pokemon right now, is it's destroyed right now for people that are resellers, scalpers. We already have a little problem with scalping right now, but it kind of is balanced out with TCG player and stuff like that. Don't feed the scalpers. Bad wizards. Bad. Speaking of bad wizards, we'll go to good wizards. Let's not dwell on the bad. Let's
roll in with that
returning MSRP.
Yeah.
Returning of MSRP. Wizards, why'd you take it away? I know why you thought you took it away. You thought because it was harming card shops. Problem is card shops aren't the things affected by MSRP. That was big chain stores, which got to manipulate their prices based on card shop prices. Popular Precon selling out like crazy. Let's bump up all our Precon prices. Amazon gets to do that now too. So it's not like an MSRP, and how it works is it's not forced that they have to sell it. It's the manufacturer's recommended price. So Walmart can set their Precons at $70-$80, but if you know the MSRP as a consumer that the MSRP is $40 or $45 for a Precon, you're not buying it at Walmart because they're already overcharging you. At least if you are overbuying it, you know why. It's popular, and then that probably might go buy it somewhere else, look for it cheaper, or just buy it at a card shop. It's going to be cost the same price, and Walmart really doesn't need your help. Neither does Amazon. Unless you don't have a card shop like some people, then I'm not going to get on to you, because some people that I know don't have card shops.
True.
I'm included. Those are the big ones through Wizards that I wanted to note. The other thing, not necessarily Wizards' fault. It was a multi-person's fault. It was an out of touch. I'm not blaming it on any one person. It started with commander bannings. I felt were a little out of touch, just because they weren't done properly. Did it need to happen? Yeah, it did need to happen years ago. We didn't need to happen after Wizards reprinted them with expensive front runners for sets. Do we need something based on a separate one for competitive and banning lists for competitive? Normal, yeah. Because I hate that a card is basically useless because it can't function because it only works in Commander, and if it's banned in Commander, it's a useless card. I don't think it's as broken as people because it's a one-use thing. I think in CDH, I think it should be legal. I don't think the Lotus is as bad as people say it is. Just because it's gone, 3 mana, and I liked using it because I like using high power commanders because I like some obscure commanders, but I get it. but I
It
don't know.
it never should have existed.
Yeah, I
One of
think it
those
should be
cards that
low.
when you look at you go, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen this game now.
Yeah.
It's it's one of those cards that like it's never fun. It's never interactive. It's always just, okay, that person has won the game now because they got their 4 mana commander out on turn one. Um,
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily that. Um, I guess if you run it that way, like I would run it and just like 6 mana, like not game winning commanders, just because I want to play the commander early. Um,
mhm.
but that's how I would play it. Yeah, I think it should be CDH legal, but I'm
Oh
not
yeah, for
gonna.
sure.
And we got to remember that the command group that or the advisory committee wasn't, or not advisory, the rules committee, because there's two of them. They aren't like in charge of commander. They're a recommended rule set that most people agree on, so you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to use it. Um, and most people, the
And they will
most
tell you
people
that
that
too.
were upset were people that were invested in cards. And unless you're a card shop, personally, I don't. I think that's it's a terrible way to look at Magic, is to constantly look at numbers when it comes to like money value. I think it distracts you
Mhm.
from wanting to play the game. I think of any card. It's one thing I hate about people playing Pokemon, or just Pokemon in general. I hate when they open up a pack and say, this much, this much. Oh, I'm disappointed because this card's not worth anything.
Mhm.
I like to open cards. I like the look of it. I like to see if I can play it. I think opening packs for money value is just a form of gambling, and just make your own collectible card game that just has a card with a money value printed on it, and do that instead of destroying card communities. I'm sorry, but I think it destroys card communities when you base every card solely on its value of monetary value at that time.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's what happened. People were furious that they've been hoarding these cards to rack up the value, and then all of a sudden they're afraid that the market's going to crash. And there's some speculation of people selling early that somehow found out earlier than they should have. Um, and the lack of communication. My only complaints of the rules committee is I think they handled it not the best way. But do I blame you for what happened in the end? No, I don't. That's
Yeah.
starting that off with a preface. Now going
Mhm.
to the people that attacked the rules committee. No,
You're
um,
asshole.
should never have happened. Shouldn't happen in general. It's you took the gamble for investing that many cards, that much money into
Mhm.
cards. That's something you. Every time you open a pack of cards, it's always if you're looking to gain money out of cards. That I'm sorry, unless you have a large market that you sell with, you're gonna lose majority of the time. It's that's the way of it. I mean, look at card shops; they struggle half the time because it's not the best money making community. Most card shops do it because they enjoy it, not because they're trying to make money.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
but this led to the committee disbanding because of the feedback from the public. Um, social
Don't send
media,
people death threats.
social
They
media.
shouldn't have to
When
be
it comes
said.
to stuff like that, Twitter and or X and stuff like that. It's yeah.
Mhm.
It's the reason why I don't use X, because people hide behind the computers and blame. It's just yeah. It was bad all around. And now Wizards have taken over, and we have yet to hear any definite changes. Supposedly there's
Yeah.
changes going on with like power levels and stuff, but we haven't seen anything yet. So
Yeah. The proposed idea sounds really cool. I don't know if it'll actually happen though. That sounds like so much work that Wizards
yeah.
would have to pay for.
Well,
I don't know if
I,
that'll happen.
Yeah, the way they want it to happen, I don't see. It's a lot of man hours to not only set up but also to maintain, to keep current, and then
Yeah.
because they want to do a list of like power levels, and then you could like based on which cards in there, it'll like it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then but yeah, it's just keeping a power level up with the card, and then like I said, certain cards they're when they work together, or like separately they're like a 1, but together they're an instant win combo. Um,
Mhm.
so keeping up with that is going to be difficult. And then also Wizards being in charge of bans, they can manipulate the bans based on upcoming sets, and
Mhm.
the only people that would know about it are employees at Wizards. And it, I mean, if I was trying to make money and I was printing cards, I would totally do that, and they're gonna do that. I'm sorry that I can't.
Yeah.
I like. I'm sorry to talk bad about. I know nobody from Wizards is gonna watch this podcast, but I mean, let's be honest here. You're gonna do that. You know,
I
it's gonna
mean,
happen.
they did ban Jace the Mind Sculptor when he was the most expensive he's ever been. I mean, I do feel like there's, and World Wake packs were still available.
Yeah.
I do feel like, they do make the decision that is right for their game most of the time, even if that decision is not a great financial one. Um, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm not too worried about like,
Yeah.
oh, they're gonna reprint, Dockside Extortionist in this set as the big catch piece, and then after that set they're gonna ban it. I don't think they're gonna do something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they're over ambitious with it. I think they should just do 2 separate ban lists, which should have belonged to. I think it should be CDH ban list and a normal EDH ban list. Um, and I think the ban list really needs to be relooked at, because that's one thing that players have been asked for a while. Unbans, because there's certain cards that don't need to be unbanned anymore, need to be banned anymore, with how the environment is with the now card, because there's cards
Yeah.
that have been printed that are illegal that are way more powerful than some cards that are banned. Some cards should stay banned. There's a couple cards in there that I don't think should be unbanned, but um,
Unban Primeval Titan. Nothing bad will happen. Anyway,
yeah, yeah. So as we wrap it up, what was your favorite set this year? I can guess, but I would like to. What was your favorite one?
just Modern Horizons 3. The precons were fantastic. The card quality was out of this world. There were so many new things added in Commander that I think make the game more fun, make decks more interesting. Um, I I think that is just like for the formats I play. Oh, and Shook Up Modern, which is the main one I like to
Yeah.
watch. Um, so I think that set for me was perfect. The best set of the year by far.
Oh yeah, it was a good set. Mine of course was Foundations. If you can guess by at this point, um, set that I don't mind buying packs from, and I don't think I will. I'll probably buy more packs from that. Like I would go to the store. Probably the Aether Drift comes out. I'd probably buy a Foundations pack instead of Aether Drift. Same thing with Innistrad Remastered. I'll probably maybe I just one pack just to open for the fun of it, and then
Yeah.
I'd buy a Foundations pack after that. I'm never disappointed, and there's still cards I want from the set. Um, just a fun set. It's a set we needed for sure. Um, least like set. I'll go first on this one. Assassin's Creed. Least liked 100 card set, 7 card packs. A lot of weird cards. I wanted to be excited for this set because I wanted to play Leonardo da Vinci. Card ended up being kind of meh. It was definitely a cash cow with the serial numbered stuff. I don't know what to say. It just wasn't really beneficial in any way for Magic.
Yeah. Murders of Karlov Manor. Uh, Bastardized Ravnica. Very few cards of interest. I don't think a land set should save it.
Yeah.
A horrible story. The characters were uninteresting. They didn't include any like real Ravnica characters. I guess they included Aurelia. Um, like it felt like another one of those planeswalkers with detective hats
Yeah.
kind of set.
Yeah, I wish
Um,
I want to go back to normal Planeswalkers because I don't like this new version of Planeswalkers. They're literally reflavored in every set now. I mean, they kind of were, but not to this extent.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I think we move on to my favorite precon. I kind of forgot this precon came out until we were in the middle of this podcast. I actually really liked the Mirko precon from Murders of Karl Mayer. I feel like that did blue black in such an interesting way. That allowed you to build several different ways. It allowed you to build like an aggressive commander or build for like reanimator.
I've seen her
And
a
like
lot
it's
lately
pretty
too.
good right out the box.
I've seen a lot of people running Mirko all of a sudden.
Mhm.
So she's quite popular now.
Yeah. What about you?
The only one of the few precons I haven't torn apart yet, haven't like changed at all, which is funny because the set. And the only reason I like this precon because it functions without needing to change it, which meets my criteria for precon. And I can show up at a table, and I can be a part of the game without overpowering anybody. I feel like it can participate in any precon environment. So if I'm just playing with random precons, so it kind of fits all the above. And it's Bumbleflower.
Bumbleflower.
Yeah. And it's really goofy. So there's also that. The rabbit that it's a group hug. It's group hug. It's a so the before the main group hug commander was like the two guys.
Oh yeah, the 4-color minus black one.
And my problem with that, I hardly ever see that deck have a win con that doesn't take 10 turns. Like I've played every time I play against them.
Approach of the Second Sun or something like that. Yeah.
Every time I play against them, it's like if it is an Approach to the Second Sun, it's like they're just like they're doing more damage to themselves than they are. It's like they're group hugging too much.
Yeah.
Where they don't get the same benefit. But yeah, Bumbleflower. I feel like I can show up any game with Bumbleflower and participate and not be the huge threat on the table, at the same time be playable. So I think that's it for this episode. Probably next episode we're going to look at going over 2025, what's the talk about, and why SpongeBob is going to be great for Commander. Yeah, thank you for if you watch the VOD, if you are either on YouTube or Twitch. If you're on Twitch, please follow. It would help us a lot, not only me but also the podcast. On YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Give us input, ask us questions. If you ask a question to the comments, we'll try to bring it up next episode and talk about it in person. And then same if you catch us on Twitch, like we had somebody jump in for a little bit, we'll try to react to your comment, answer any questions.
Alrighty.
And thanks for showing.
Thanks for watching.